Hey everybody, welcome to JK Next Garage. So now that we've got the body cart back out from underneath the car, I'm going to go over a couple of things on these very back where the frame rails sit. I've had some messages or comments and emails on some particular measurements on that. Maybe I wasn't very clear when I did my first videos, but we're going to go over that and something that I might have done different when I built this body cart. So anyway, stay tuned for that. Okay, first things first. So we'll go over what I would have probably done different if I was to build this body cart again. Now that I've had it on the car and it works great, or actually I had the car on it, and it works great and everything. But you see how high I have to have this off the ground? I'm like 26 inches underneath here because these are about 25 3/4 to the top of these pins. So I got to have the car up really high to get the body cart underneath. So one of my things would have been is putting plates on the bottom here so that I could detach this, get the body cart rolled underneath, and then put them on and bolt them down. So that's one thing that I might have done different. And then same thing with the ones in the back there. They're a little bit high to get underneath basically the tail pan. So there again, the ones in front of the far back ones are actually for where the frame rails go up at its highest point. So I would probably do the same thing as put plates on the bottom, weld them on, drill through so I could bolt them on. So, and then in the back there, maybe the same thing on the very back ones too. You just gotta make sure that your measurements and all that stuff stay the same, but I think I might have done that a little bit different now that I have to have this car up so high to get it underneath. But yeah, so that's just a couple things that I would have done different. Maybe move this in a little bit, the side rails in a little bit too, just because my jacks have to be so far out this way to be able to get the body cart by. Everything works out and I've had no issues right now, but I just think it might make it a little bit more convenient. So just a couple thoughts on what I'd have done different on the body cart. So, all right, let's get to some measurements. All right, so I'm not going to go over all the measurements for this. This is basically for the ones in the back there. If you want to check out my beginning videos on the body cart, they're listed body cart 1, 2, 3, stuff like that. Go back and check those out. I go into detail on what I did to make all these risers and plates for the tops and everything. So check that out. So this is going to be for in back. So let's go to the books and I'm going to show you what we got going on here. Okay, so this is the original drawings, and I'll put these again at the back of the video so you can take these. But I've been getting questions back here. So people have been asking me about my plates back here. And as you can see that this measurement that I have from the center of my risers here is 43 3/4. Now that's the center of the risers. That has nothing to do with the frame rails or anything like that. This measurement is basically on the inside of those risers there. And we'll go back and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in the manual, it says 42 7/8, and that's the inboard edge of the side rail at the center line of the shackle bolt. All right, so it took me a while to decipher that because I've never done this before back in the day when I first started, but it's not the measurement at the edge of this shackle bushing right here. It's actually the frame rail right here is where they're asking for it. And you got to be careful because this shackle bushing sticks out, like mine sticks out like 3/8 of an inch on one side and 5/16 of an inch on the other side. Those are just the aftermarket ones. The original ones were pretty close too. I think one was 5/16 and one was just a hair over 3/8. So that's why I put spacers in. So let's go back to the body cart and I'll show you these measurements. All right, so let's start off. So this plate here is a 3" by 3" plate. All right, so in the center of these are at 41 3/4 inch. So what I did, and I'll show you this, I'll get a little bit closer and show you this, but the inside of my frame rails were pretty darn close to 42 7/8 on the original. Now, what I did, and I will grab that right now. All right, so when I built these and put these on here, I put a 1/4 inch spacer in here before I welded these on. So I've got a 1/4 inch space between my shackle bushing and the actual edge of this right here. That's how I figured, so I could have a little bit of play when it came to putting in the new frame rails. I did this on both sides, and I'll grab the camera here and show you. So you see this mark right here, this thin line, that's the frame rail. This mark right inside there, that little thin line, that's the shackle bushing. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, this one might be a little bit darker, but so that's how it is there. Now, I put that spacer in there because I had no idea what the repop frame rails, how those were gonna fit. And it's a good thing that I put that spacer in there because I needed a little extra room to wiggle that back and forth to get the frame rails and the floor pan all lined up and everything. So, yeah, now I'll give you the measurement between the edge of that one and the edge of that one. So, all right, so I am going to give you from this side to this side. So this is going to be from the inside to the inside here. And like I said, I like using a straight edge or not a straight edge, but a ruler, because I just get a little bit better measurement. And I'm at like 41 3/8. So 41 3/8 from the inside here to the inside here. You know, you can go with that if you want to go a little bit closer together to have a bigger space, but that worked out just fine for me. It gave me enough room for the aftermarket frame rails to get put in there and get all lined up. And believe me, if you go back and watch a video on putting that trunk and frame rails together, you'll understand why. So anyways, grab this. So that's pretty much it for these back here. You know, I basically found the center and then did a center on these. These are 1.5 inch. These are 1.5 by 1.5 by 1/8 inch tube steel. So I'm glad I put these braces in here because the back end of the car is heavier than the front. I didn't know that until I started messing around with this and putting this in there. But anyways, so yeah, that's just a quick video going over a little update on these back frame rails. I apologize for any confusion with the print and stuff like that I made up. But anyways, you got to kind of go off of your own original car if you can. Hopefully, if you've got the frame rail still mounted in there and trunk pan and all that stuff, great. If you don't, well, hopefully this will give you a start anyways, so you can kind of go from there. So one other thing, these plates, as you can see, I got that notch in there. This thing to focus, I got that notch in there. So this is 1/2 inch, basically a 1/2 inch slot. I drilled a 1/2 inch hole here, 1/2 inch hole here, and then just took my Dremel tool and cut the notch out, cleaned it up a little bit. That right there has been a lifesaver for getting the aftermarket frame rails put back in there, because I stick my rod through there, and let me see if I got them right over here. So yeah, I basically stick my rod in there and clamp it on both sides and it stays right in place. And plus I can put I can put spacers in on either side, on the inside, like I showed you. And so that rod goes right through the shackle bushing opening there. So it'll keep your frame rails centered and lined up. So that really helped out a lot. So, you know, maybe you need a bigger spacer here than on this side, like I did when I had to put those aftermarket frame rails together. So, but it's all within, you know, that tolerance that you should be able to get away with. So anyways, don't forget your little slots here. They will help you out immensely. All right, now that I got the body cart back underneath the car, I just wanted to do a little extra thing on the body cart here, and I'll show you what I ended up having to do. So remember I was mentioning that I might cut these down. Well, I had to cut this down right here. This is the one that goes up to the highest point in the frame rail. My original frame rails were up just a little bit higher, so I was getting a teetering effect on here. So they would not sit down on the pads in the back there, but now they do because I cut these out of here. So these are my thoughts on possibly these other risers as well that are up high enough so you can get this body cart underneath without having to lift the car up so high. So I think what I'm going to do with those ones that I cut off, and I might do this with the other ones, is I may, or do this one hand, is just put some pieces, now not these, but you know, and sandwich it like this, and then I don't know if you can, everything's falling down. So sandwich it, you know, with some pieces like that, drill through here and here, and then just put a bolt through after I set it up on there. Now I think what I'm going to end up doing is cutting probably about a 1/2 inch off of here so it sits down a little bit lower, and that way when it's sitting up like this, however the frame rail sits, I can always put a spacer on here or wedges or spacers to get it up to the frame rail, the original frame rail, like say for another project or something. But that way, hopefully, you know, it won't interfere with the new frame rails since they weren't bent the same. So that's just my thoughts on that. And then I'll just run over quick this back, how this back helped me right here. The that slot, and well, I can get you. So that slot right there that goes through the shackle bushing area, I did end up using that to, I had this whole trunk floor had to go over just about 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch. So I was able to use that rod and go through there. And plus that slot will help when you go to do the quarter panels, because you want to be able to lift up or, you know, and put some spacers in here if you have to get those quarter panels dialed in. So that's just a little rundown on that. Now that we've got the body cart back underneath here, you can kind of see everything's working out really good. So just a couple modifications I might do if I do another project, which I'm hoping to do. So anyway. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up here for the body cart, little update there. Stay tuned for the measurements and the prints and stuff like that I'll have here after I get done talking. And anyways, this body cart has been a godsend. Now that we've had it on underneath the car here for the last few years, it's helped so much with taking reference measurements and keeping things lined up, especially when you're going to put the frame rails and the trunk together. And the only thing, you know, there's a couple of things that I might do different if I was to modify this a little bit, but I'm not complaining at all. This thing really helps out, especially since the fact that we've never done this before. So anyways, hopefully you got a little something out of it. Yeah, and don't forget to check out the previous videos back in our library there that show how we put this body cart together, all the risers, the measurements, the frame, the levelers, the wheels, all that kind of stuff is back in the library. So check those videos out. And as always, we appreciate you coming along, and we'll see you on the next one.